I'm doing a maintenance makeover on this raised area here of the garden, and I'm going to be starting with the Hutton decking. Now, we painted it many years ago with an oil product, and it was basically very well worn, needed a bit of love a long time ago. So started off with just cleaning the area thoroughly. Now, normally just a good scrub, leave it dry, and that would do. But because it was so old and covered in muck and algae and old coating, we used a pressure washer just to blast it all off with. Now, again, pressure washers are brilliant, but they will remove the old coating, which in this case we kind of wanted it to do. After we left it to dry, there was still a lot of flaky coating on there, so we then got a power sander and then just sanded the whole thing down. Now, it's very important when you're doing decking to make sure it's totally dry. So if you are using a pressure washer, you're going to want to leave it probably for a week if you can to dry out thoroughly, because the water will get really embedded and soak into the decking, and you'll also have moisture from underneath the decking as well. If your decking is too high in humidity and moisture, then the wood paint won't stick and bond to the decking properly, it won't fix, and it just won't last as long. Now, this area of the decking here was underneath a small planter and it started to rot. So we've just sanded it back until we've actually found some sort of solid, sound timber. But what you can do is just cut off the ends of the affected areas and replace it with fresh decking. So get your paint, give it a good shake. Normally about 30 to 60 seconds. I've already done quite a bit. So we'll now move on to stirring it. So always use a paint stirrer if you can. They're really cheap and they just stir the paint in really nicely and mix all of your resin and your pigment and everything else that actually makes up a paint. And it just makes it work properly then. If you don't mix it properly, then it won't work properly. So again, we're stirring about 30 to 60 seconds is the rule. And some of the darker pigments and stronger pigments can take longer to mix in. And obviously if your paint's been sat around for weeks, months, or even a year or two, then it would have separated out more. So the longer it's been left sat for, the longer you'll need to stir it for. So that should do. Now you can apply it with either a brush, and that's kind of my preference normally, good synthetic, high quality brush, or roller. Now for decking, rollers are actually really good, they make the job a lot simpler. Or you can spray it on as well, but I'll be using a combination of a roller and a brush to get in between all of the gaps. So, pour some in. And when you roller in, it's very important to load your roller evenly. Make sure you've got plenty of paint on the full length of the roller, otherwise it's going to be patchy. And then just apply it going along the grain. So it's always good to work in whole sections when you're doing decking. So I'll be painting this section here, and then moving along, finishing the whole length off, and then coming back and starting again. Just working my way through the whole of the decking that way. So I'm using RAL 7016 Anthracite Grey. It's a lovely dark colour, and one of the great things about it is because it's so rich in colour pigment, you just need one coat. Now with decking, you can just paint one coat on. It's a bit like a high maintenance lover really, that you just need to maintain it. Normally every 1 to 2 years, depending on levels of exposure and wear and tear. You can paint a second coat on, but probably just doing a maintenance coat every 1 to 2 years with the one coat on the decking will be absolutely fine. And your other option is to water down the wood paint by up to 50% water. That'll give you a wood stain effect, and it will soak into the timber more as well and look really natural and pretty. And that's it. This decking area is totally transformed now with just a bit of paint and a bit of love, and it's looking absolutely beautiful and ready to relax and unwind in.